Today I'm at Pitchfork Farm in Hiroshima, Japan to visit my friend Thomas and show you guys how he is homesteading and farming here right near the ocean. He's in this incredible location. He's growing lots of citrus, uses sheep and a pig to really maintain a lot of the greenery around here, as well as fertilize his beds. And he's running a market garden for CSA customers as well. So let's get into it here. There's a lot to learn from Thomas today. Just had to drive up this narrow little pathway to get here, but I parked. And Thomas is down here. Wow, look at his bananas. Huge. Must be the right place. Whoa. Where are you at? I don't know, I just walked around. What's going on, Thomas?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for letting me come over here.
Yeah, sure.
Man, this is a unique spot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Rolling up here, I was like, dang, this guy's got a view.
Yeah.
How did you find this place?
Yeah, in 2011, I was an ALT, an assistant language teacher here
Yeah.
in Amici City.
Okay.
And I studied sustainable ag in undergrad, and
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to grow food in some capacity. I
Mhm.
wasn't exactly sure how or where, but as soon as I got into the city here and was working for the government,
Yeah.
I was asking my advisors and people working at the Board of Education, is there any land available? And then I got on the cycling route, the Shimano Nikaido,
Yeah.
and was cycling and was looking around and I'm seeing so many farms like abandoned,
Yeah.
let's say, or clearly like overgrown, weedy.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. There's so much open land.
So much, yeah.
It's insane.
And so I asked more people in town because at first when I got here, like a lot of my advisors and people at the Board of Education kind of laughed at me. They were just like, you're here to teach English,
Yeah.
focus on that. And I knew I wanted to do something. I mean, we had time, we had stuff to do on the weekends. So I went into a cafe here in town in Onamichi City, and that's asking them. And they were like, well, let me introduce you to a friend who just moved here. And she's got land in Mukaishima. And I happen to be teaching at the local elementary school in Mukaishima anyway. This island is
This
Mukaishima.
island.
And my neighbor, who's actually still my next door neighbor, she introduced me to this property. So our main beds that we do most of our year-round production are down here. Because we get a long, warm fall,
Mm-hmm.
we get like late eggplant that we can plant out. They're slowly producing. I mean, when it gets to like 35, 36 degrees Celsius,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of stop producing, they stop flowering.
Sure.
But then we get the late fall, like the September, October, November eggplants. So we'll keep these plants around. A lot of the peppers as well will stick around till October, November. Most of the stuff around here, we irrigate with our well. We have just one well on the property.
Yeah.
But then we have to use it minimally. Like we can't keep it running, for an hour at a time because it'll actually dry out.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll have to wait a day or two to water. So we're
wow.
pretty minimal in terms of watering. So we do try to, in some cases we mulch or we keep shade net on the beds. Or we companion plant or interplant.
Yeah.
So in this case, for example, this is a green Morahea. Morahea, it's an Egyptian green, and it's like a sticky kind of like similar to okra, similar to cotton, but it's a sauteing green.
You can cook with it.
Yeah. So I've grown all this row is Morahea, but actually in between I've got
I
eggplants
see.
growing too. So I'm trying to mix production here. These were zucchinis we had planted in April.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much finished at this point, but we've been pulling off these the whole time. And then other plants that are really good in the sun are like Goya or bitter melon. We don't really eat that at all in the States, but it's pretty famous in Okinawa. So we're thinking about plants that can withstand this 35-degree temperature for multiple weeks at a time.
Right.
So we've got things like that in here. And then kind of up on the slope, we've got like citrus and figs and guava and mulberry. One fig tree is up there, guava, 2 limes.
Wow. Bond.
Kinkan.
Kinkan.
Kinkan is kumquat.
Kumquat.
Yeah, kumquats. These are a lot of our trees have only been planted here in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Especially on the top hill, our citrus are 3, 4 years.
So your property goes up to another tier.
Yeah, well, over there, and then we've got the bamboo forest. It's actually way above here.
Oh.
Our citrus, like other citrus orchard, is a few properties there where you park.
Yeah.
From the solar panels, we've got about 30 citrus trees there.
Oh, cool.
And then we bring our sheep over, and then I've got another property that I haven't even touched yet. Like it's in the holler, or
The holler.
This little tiny.
The holler. Are you from the south?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
in the holler.
Where'd you grow up?
Georgia. I'm from
Georgia.
Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I didn't grow up doing any agriculture stuff or farming. I mean, cutting the grass.
Yeah.
On like a riding lawnmower.
Yeah.
That was the extent of my farming, gardening. So when I got to Japan, yeah, it's really everything kind of started from here.
Interesting.
We got one pig that we keep kind of in the center. She's here.
You're blending in. Hey, buddy. Cool, man.
Yeah.
How long do you grow them out before you?
We won't butcher her.
Oh, it's a pet?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Compost.
Yeah.
She's a compost
That's
maker.
Cool. Yeah, I bet.
I mean, all the weeds come in.
Oh.
She eats up the weeds.
Nice.
I think last year we'll move this fence, and she was here last year, so our corn, pumpkin, and beans went in here.
Really cool.
And we didn't use any fertilizers. We didn't use anything to grow the pumpkin or corn or beans. And then we just moved her to here.
So instead of doing like mobile chickens
to
prep a spot, use her.
And then so we'll gather up everything she puts out.
Yeah.
And then this will go back into the beds. She'll probably go here next.
Mm-hmm.
And she was here last year, so she was getting fed on whatever was growing in here. So all the weeds that are coming up now, she was eating up. But then a lot of this is remnants of seed that she didn't eat.
Yeah.
So this is all togan, a Japanese kind of gourd.
Okay.
So she's eating up all this, plus the kikuimo or Jerusalem artichoke that's coming up. This
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, these ones, and behind her as well, she's got a bunch of Jerusalem artichoke.
Very cool.
So that plus the cherry tomato or micro tomato or mini tomato. This is also just a weed on the farm at this point, you know. It doesn't. We let it grow.
Yeah.
And it comes up. If she didn't eat it last year, seeds drop, and we get these cherry tomatoes or micro tomatoes.
That's really cool.
There's kind of like a wild zone, because you can only do so much. You know, concentrate more on the flatbeds, but in these kind of like side pockets, outer pockets.
Yeah, just you got extra food here. You know,
yeah.
That you don't even have to mess with.
No. Yeah. I think somebody gave me a bunch of fence material. So I just made a compost ring. The cherry tomatoes were just starting to pop up, probably in April or May. And then I just kind of caged them.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
Let them grow.
And what's cool is there's no grass growing there. It's snuffing it all out. So
yeah.
There's
probably like
strategy.
7 or 8 different plants all growing in this one spot, plus the togan, the white flower coming out here.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, that's that pumpkin, that togan.
Okay. It's the flower for it.
Yeah.
Neat. Wow. Is this your neighbor?
Yep.
The neighbor's Japanese, I assume. What do they think about what you're doing?
Oh yeah, she speaks English, and she actually lived in North Carolina for a little while.
Oh, cool.
She's great. I mean, she moved here. She's also a migrant to the area, or she's from Yokohama originally.
Okay.
And with the whole earthquake in Fukushima in 2011, a lot of people did move to the western part of Japan. And that was another reason to start wanting to grow my own food. Is when I got here, I couldn't read Japanese and I couldn't read kanji. And studying sustainable ag in undergrad, we talked about, buy local, consume local. Well, I was already here, so I wanted to do that anyway, but there was just another reason for us to do that. And her, especially, she had just had a kid, so they moved over, bought this house here, and we started kind of working on this project together.
Cool.
Because we wanted to grow a little bit of our own food.
Right.
I mean, when I first started, I think I just started my plot in this square here. That was it.
Wow.
The greenhouse didn't have plastic on it. The parts we saw over on the other side were all covered in a blue sheet or plastic because the neighbor or the original landowner didn't want anything to grow. And then pretty much from here up, you couldn't walk in here because it was all goldenrod or weeds.
Oh, wow. Total jungle.
It was a jungle, yeah. But a very, I mean, it's kind of a bit of a jungle now, but it's also, you know, there was no diversity. It was like 3 or 4 types of weeds, and that was really about it.
Wow.
So over time, to clear it, we fenced off the whole one big section, a little bit at a time, and put in goats at first. And we shared the goats at first. So me and her, even though I wasn't living here yet, I was commuting from town, so cycling over every week. And we put the goats in, and they cleared the area. And then in 2017, we bought that property, and we kind of started, I started managing it more solely.
Yeah.
And then I guess in 2020 is when we started planting a lot of the fruit trees we have up here. Wow. So the citrus, like here, and here, these are all 3-4 year old, like mikan, yuzu, dai, grapefruit, lemon.
So is the winter a little bit more mild here because you're next to the sea?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're gonna grow everything. Yeah. Lettuces, kale, cabbage, Swiss chard, beets, carrots, turnips, all of that will keep growing.
Nice.
And if we put a little bit of plastic on top, like season extension or any kind of row cover, we'll get stuff throughout the whole time. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good climate here.
It's great.
Growing.
Yeah, if we're growing, it's really great. Soil, because we're on an island, it's really sandy. Like I'm sometimes a bit envious when I go into the other parts. Yeah, it's sand. So we add mulch. We add compost a lot.
Yeah.
Either from our animals. It's really cheap to buy in cow manure compost. And just adding that extra bit of carbon in the soil, I think really helps. So any kind of like wood chip material, because being so sandy, it's, you know, a lot of the nutrients we're going to put in are just going to leach out anyway. So we need something to hold a lot of that into the soil. So we've been putting back a lot more compost in the last few years, or, you know, like cut grass, straw, these kind of things help.
Perfect.
These are all mulberries that are like wild or I guess native to here. Wow. So they grow. Like we didn't plant these 2 trees, and I've kind of just kept them because it adds shade as we're going up through the farm. Here's a row of morning glory and the cherry tomato again, the one that comes up. It'll be our late grower, and this is interplanted with asparagus bean.
Oh wow! Look at that thing.
Yeah, asparagus bean and suyo long cucumber.
Oh, I know suyo long.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great cucumber.
And like up here, I weed a little bit, but we don't water. When it rains, that's when we try to transplant stuff in. But I don't water up here in this season. Just letting it, you know, letting nature take its course. But there's a lot of like other edible herbs and weeds, like this type of like kind of purslane, yomogi, which is mugwort, which is often used in
that's a great
teas. And then we did transplant, put in basil through here, and this is another row of tomatoes that we had.
Very nice.
But a lot of this stuff, like a lot of these ones, are all the kikuimo, the Jerusalem artichoke, but interplanted with our citrus. So more citrus here. You can kind of see the 3 rows here. There's 1, 2, and 3.
Very nice.
That one is grapefruit over there.
the real big ones.
Yeah,
Cool.
that one was planted 5 years ago. Now here, the other citrus area, these were the last ones we planted in. And actually there was a row of corn here a week ago.
Yeah.
And the wild boar broke through.
Oh my gosh.
The wild boar comes up from here, from the forest,
Wow.
and broke through here and just smashed up all the corn. So now it's molt. So I came through with the weed whacker and just cut everything back. When I first got here, I didn't have any infrastructure. We didn't have any metal fencing at all.
Yeah.
I was using like old roof material and bamboo, thinking, oh, this will work. And I like the first day I grew, or the first time I ever grew a zucchini from seed.
Yeah.
The day I go to harvest, it gets smashed.
Wow.
It looked like the saddest, zucchini.
They found you and realized, hey, this guy's
gonna
they plant me food every day.
Yep. So this year, zucchini, or pumpkins and pumpkin, corn, and sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Pretty much crushed. But
Cool.
things like the citrus, they don't bother until they get fruits on. And these are all beans. Another type of bean, not this long asparagus bean, but tasage. This will be a September, October plant here. And it'll be a runner bean. It'll run across the ground, or I'll let it run up this fence.
Oh, neat.
So just kind of scattering out seeds. And a lot of the stuff up here is actually untilled.
Yeah.
Because we only have a small rototiller. And I've been doing, the reason we're Pitchfork Farms is I often will fork the bed. Or I'll tarp it first, fork it, and then directly seed into that. So a lot of our beans growing up here were grown that way. The main part of our property runs up to here, but if you go up through this holler or this little valley, we have bamboo forest up there. And that was all citrus at one point too. I mean, this was like going back 30 or 40 years. Actually, the whole mountainside was probably citrus and a type of chrysanthem that was used to make the mosquito coils. Have you been using these mosquito coils here?
Yeah, I know. I've seen them.
Yeah, jochugiku, I think, is the type of chrysanthem in Japanese. That was really commonly grown here in the, probably dating back 400 or 500 years.
Oh my gosh.
Because before using any chemical, they were drying out this flower. And because this is one of the hottest, driest climates, and one of the warmer places, it's like the ideal place to produce this this flower for making the mosquito coils.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's cool. It's natural though.
Yeah. It's completely natural. I found this book in my city university, and as an export crop, they were considering that as one of the main export. The U.S. military said that if Japan is going to export anything, it's this. This is the one crop that they can do. Because other crops like rice, if you were to compare it with other countries, it's not worth exporting. And even today, unless it's really high value and going to some fancy sushi.
Other countries just produce it cheaper, basically.
It would, yeah. So Japan and other crops that were like no oil crops. I think it was just, it was all that. That was that and silk.
Yeah.
Because the technique of silk production was really good, but then eventually that got replaced with Vietnam and Laos, Cambodia, because they could just produce it so much cheaper.
Right.
But silk was a major export, and that's why you get the mulberry. The mulberry leaf is the main food source for the silkworm.
Oh.
So that was the
cycle.
Yeah, the cycle. And that's why a lot of the households here and in this whole region, they had basically shelters or spaces in their barns for feeding the silkworm. Wow. Yeah. So that was a big production in this area as well.
Interesting. Who are your main customers here?
Mostly local folks. Right now we've had a CSA going for 2 years now. Typically 9 to 10 customers per year, and we run it from April to pretty much April to August. We take a break because of the crop cycle and heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get it going again back in October, I want to say. And then we also do online sales, and occasionally we'll do markets in town at this point.
Very cool.
But not, you know, and I think the size and the scale of the land, we could always increase our customer base. But it's really hard to know seasonally what's going to happen. Also off farm jobs.
And you're doing, you got a bunch of stuff going on outside of this too.
Right. So that's one of the big things is we do need to take time away. We do need to take a break from doing the farm. And I think, whereas most farms maybe think, you know, summer is their main season, well, in the future, winter will probably become our main season as the citrus start to come out, because they're a November to April crop. So we'll be able to do that in the future. And
cool.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping things will kind of balance out a little bit more, but
very cool.
Yeah, this was where the sweet potatoes were here. There are 3 rows here, and pumpkin was here. But yeah,
I see you put some wool.
Yeah, wool around the base.
Because you've got sheep.
Yeah, we've got 3 sheep right now. I'm using it as a mulch because there's a Japanese beetle, Kamikirimushi, I think. It's a long black beetle with white spots on it, really long antenna. And this one will put holes through, typically we'll put holes right around here in the base.
Oh, no.
And so by covering it up with wool, the wool is, you know, it's got all that lanolin still, and it's got all the oil. So the bug, I think, won't be able to penetrate at the base anymore. And it only wants to penetrate around the base because it's going to come up through the tree. So far on the trees that I put this around, I haven't had a problem.
Cool.
I didn't put any on my citrus orchard over there, and I've seen some really big holes on some of the best trees. So if they make it, I've heard that you can like doctor them, you know, like do some surgery on the tree and actually like try to remove the eggs.
Wow.
But I haven't done that. So yeah, these are all, that's Mikan, this is Decopon, this is Ume, or plums and prunes, and 2 peaches here. And then our sheep are hanging out in the shade over here.
There they are.
We've got there's 2 females, and then male was born this year.
How have you liked raising sheep?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, you know, because we've got this amount of space and we're cutting the grasses every year anyway, I mean, they're ideal, I think, for this small scale. I mean, we can't have a huge group of them, but if I come through with my weed whacker and cut all this, I'm going to want to rake that up. And I mean, I've got these guys to come through and what we did last year, we did the same thing. We put this temporary fence in, we tilled it up, and then we grew a little bit of wheat in it last year.
Oh, cool.
We seeded wheat in December and harvested it in May. And then we let the weeds grow again, and then we'll probably do the same thing. I mean, having them as like kind of a place to rotate up where we just were. Yeah. We had the same fence up there. That's why it was easier to walk around. And then I'll come through and trim around the citrus trees here. These are all lemon and lime trees. There's a row here and a row here and a row here. So when we come through and cut all this, we just dump it into their space. So they're great. And then for our other properties, like the citrus orchard over there, and then the property below my house, we'll put them in there when I notice that the crop is pretty much finished, and they'll come through and take most of the weeds. Of course, they've got Japan. We've also got poke weed.
Yeah, we have that in Tennessee.
Right.
In the South, yeah.
Yeah. I think Elvis has a song called like poke salad, because you can eat it, but it's poisonous.
You have to boil it like 3 times.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's edible, but the sheep don't eat it. And the sheep, this other vine as well, they don't eat it. So where my neighbors might ask me to cut and trim the fence line to keep everything from getting out of control, I mean, it's a perfect shade. And I guess it was in 2019, I got a guy from New Zealand that came here.
Yeah.
And he taught us how to shear. Nice. So I shear with scissors. I do blade shearing. So every year we do a workshop with that. So we bring customers and people out here, and even kids, we give them a chance to hold the scissors and actually give a shot
So cool.
with the animals. And that's been really good. This year too, we had a friend of ours who knew that we had sheep, and she had spinning, a foot spinner and some other spinning tools and a bunch of carders. So she sent a bunch of that stuff to us, as well as several looms. She sent me 2 Navajo style looms and 1 table loom.
Wow.
So I've got looms now that I haven't used at all. I mean, it's like a more of a winter project, but.
And the loom is how you take the raw wool and then turn it into yarn?
That's the spinner.
That's the spinner. Okay.
Yeah. So the loom is what can be used for weaving.
Got it.
Yeah.
So make a blanket. Or
make a blanket, make a scarf, make a rug. You can also use it for felting. So, and then this year I tried the Swin-It method of wool washing. So you take rainwater and you add the wool and soak it in rainwater and let it ferment, and the oil, it'll ferment, and then the oil will break down.
Interesting.
Because of the fermentation process, and water and oil will separate, right? So all the oil will come to the top, and it actually, because it's fermented, it works to clean the fabric. So you don't have to use as much soap and
that's pretty cool.
to clean it. I think I washed my wool twice.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the oil had broken down a lot more than just fresh wool. So there's a lot of potential for wool. And again, going back to using it around the base of our trees, using it as a mulch, I think it
has a lot of uses.
Yeah, it could be really valuable. So
very neat. Oh, look at that. That's a peach or a
something. Peach. And it's got like got a nest in it. I've never actually really harvested any peaches. I mean, the bug pressure is pretty bad, and you can see, I mean, it's these leaf hoppers doing some damage, but I've never really harvested the peach. I think I'll get prunes and plums will be all right, but peaches require just a whole nother level of care.
The bug pressure is so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll see, I mean, and maybe you've already seen this, all the Japanese orchards, they're putting bags on each of the peaches or each of the grapes. Like, it's just another to do, and the flower's really beautiful. I guess we get in Japan we get sakura season, the cherry blossom season, so we get to do hanami, and because this is like the same family, right? Stone fruits. Mm-hmm. The flowers are really beautiful. Yeah. I heard that the leaves can be used as a tea, so that's probably the most of our harvest we'll get. Maybe one day, if we maybe grow them up further on the top of the hill, we'll get less pest pressure. This one is really easy to grow. So if I had to compare the two, the Nanking cherry will get a much better yield in the future. This was like 3 years ago. So
cool.
I kind of concentrated all the stone fruits or all the plums and prunes and cherries and peaches in one area, and then around that I've got my citrus. So I'm kind of like seeing what works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because really with trees, I mean, only being here 5 years with the trees, yeah, we're just still figuring out like what we can put our time and effort into. Figs.
Pretty fun.
Ichijiku.
Oh yeah. Figs do really well in Japan, I've noticed.
Right. Yeah, they're pretty easy, but again, that same stem boring bug is also pretty bad. And then eucalyptus, planted maybe 6 years ago. Right when we moved here, I think we planted these eucalyptus out.
Oh, cool.
And people, for cut flowers, people are buying. I think I sold maybe 5 boxes of eucalyptus leaves this year.
It is a popular one for bouquets, huh?
Yeah.
There's another little garden area.
Yeah. Cherry or more tomatoes. Beans are finished at this point. Kind of tarp stuff down here. Zucchini. And then tarp stuff here. Chestnuts here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And we'll get some chestnuts this year for sure.
It's kind of a cool nut tree. They give you nuts way sooner,
right,
than a lot of pecans or something.
Right. olives, more Jerusalem artichoke. It's everywhere. And then turmeric.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, turmeric is another one that we've got here. And maybe even in the entrance of the house, there was a purple turmeric here, and this was a yellow one.
Nice.
So I've got 2 or 3 varieties of turmeric. Our cucumbers are finished this year in this part. I've been pulling, I think last year I did such a terrible job with my cucumbers, so this year I'm just like, okay, I'm going all out cucumbers, and I made like, 4 or 5 jars of pickles yesterday. Last week made like a few gallons of pickles, and then,
Awesome.
I'm putting like 10 cucumbers per box, so.
Awesome.
And then we've tarped out this spot, so I'm gonna go on a trip this week from Saturday. And then when I come back, we'll start to seed and water again in this area. So this will be, leaf lettuce, kale, baby kale, mizuna, this kind of plant. And
so fall planting is starting soon.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, in the next week or 2, I'll start seeding again, start transplanting, probably in the next month. More late eggplants, okra, and then this one I trialed last year for the first time. This row, this is roselle. So you know that drink they use, like a hibiscus. They used to make that. I think in Mexico, and like I had it the first time I think I ever had it was in Arizona, called Jamaica. That's this plant.
Oh,
so in October, November, we'll get the little red flowers.
And you can make
the drinks with it.
That's fun.
And then the leaf is edible too. I've found some recipes like Indian curries where they actually take this leaf because it's really sour. So I planted this row last year and it did really well. And it's really drought resistant, can tolerate this heat because it's in the same family as cotton and okra. So, yeah, this is one that I'd like to establish more up on the top of the farm as well. And then we also get this one, egoma or perilla.
Perilla, yeah, I recognize that.
This is all the perilla on the farm at this point is all wild. It just drops seed and then coming back every year. So this is another good one to put in the boxes. Because you can't really get it at the supermarket. And people make kimchi with it and wrap it in meat. I'm sure, in Korea. Right, they eat it a lot.
That's where I got to try it the first time.
It's really good.
It's very good.
Yeah. So it was one I put in probably 5 years ago, and then now it's all around the farm.
That happened at my house too.
Yeah.
It spreads itself pretty well.
Yeah, you would think like as well as this does, basil would do the same, but basil does not spread out as much as this one. I don't know, egoma and shiso as well, right?
Yes.
It's a bunch of it down there.
There's another little, hey, you just got terraces everywhere here.
Yeah, so this is in the spring, this was baby kale, onion, beans, and mizuna, greens. And then I fenced off one section and then put the sheep in here. Nice. And the 2 citrus trees that are here, these are amanatsu, like a type of grapefruit, the 2 bigger ones here.
Okay.
And we probably harvested like a few hundred pounds of citrus from these 2 trees this year.
Well, that's great.
And we're shipping those out across the country too, which was really good. So
yeah, I learned that the shipping is very good for farmers here.
It's amazing. Yeah, unfortunately, it is getting more and more expensive. I did have a few customers stop because
it's too much.
Shipping plus shipping it cool now,
right,
almost costs as much as 1 box. But if you can, like I know in the case of some farmers, like if it's really high quality produce and the convenience of it, I mean, I can ship to Tokyo and it costs $10,
Wow.
And it's amazing. And now if I could ship larger quantities or more boxes,
then it becomes more economical.
Yeah, in the future, maybe that would be an option.
What does that citrus taste like?
It's
It's a grapefruit, but yeah,
sour.
it's more sour.
More sour than sweet.
Okay.
But if you let it sit for a little bit, it's called amanatsu. Amai means sweet, and natsu means summer. So sweet summer. So if you, the landowner actually of this place, he planted the trees a while, like, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago.
Wow.
And he stopped caring for it. So this place became completely overrun. And then wild boar started living in here.
Oh my God.
And then I remember they came over there and they were like harvesting it in February. And like they were harvesting it and cutting it open or peeling it, and they were taking big bites out of it. And they were just, I could hear them from my from my living room. They were like, sour, sit by. And I'm like, well, it is amanatsu, you know, like you do need to wait those extra 3 or 4 months, because it'll wear down your teeth if you eat it in February. I mean, it's really, really sour.
Whoa.
And so I was making, because it is so sour, I was making lemonade a little bit with it this year, and just kind of experimenting with some different flavors and seeing what else we could do. Because we were harvesting so much at the time that if we didn't ship it out, it would go bad. So yeah, but pretty sour, like not as sour as a lemon, but it's up there.
Yeah,
it's definitely
interesting.
Yeah.
So are lemons and limes hard to grow here?
This area is like the most famous lemon region right now. Like everybody says Seto Naikai. This is the sea here. It's called the Seto Naikai. Everybody's calling like this area like Seto Naikai lemon. If you get on the cycling route, or if you get on the highway and drive 2 islands over, the majority of farms are lemon at this point.
Wow.
It used to be a lot of mikan, the small satsuma, mandarin orange. But because production's more difficult, and high sugar content is really like what people are going after, and there's more pest pressure, and also the outside with a lemon, if you're gonna just use it for juice, people don't care what the outside looks like. But with the citrus, with the mandarin, if it doesn't look perfect, then it won't sell.
And the people in Japan, I notice, I think that they care even more than Americans do about how beautiful the fruit looks.
Yeah.
Because it's like gift fruit that you can pay a lot of money for.
Right. Yeah, it's a huge, and vegetables are the same too. I mean, the bean, I guess in Japanese, B grade stuff, C grade stuff. I mean, if you're putting that in your boxes, it should become, you really have to establish some kind of relationship with the customer. Otherwise, it wouldn't get accepted into the market.
Yeah.
And when I go to market occasionally, I've had that come up or had to deal with that. And some people are understanding and they know that you're growing like organic, or that you're not using any like pesticides in your stuff. So there's a bit of leeway there. Right. But if you're going to sell in the supermarket and you're going to sell at like major department stores, there's a certain level of quality and looks especially that they care about. Now quality maybe is a different, the visual quality is really important. But in Japan, it can be pretty strict.
Yeah.
But then I think that's why you do see a lot of farmers just concentrate on 1 or 2 crops. Whereas our farm is more diverse, I think. We have so many different types of plants going. So I think it's definitely finding your niche, I guess, finding your market. It's a really important side of that.
Man, well, thank you so much for showing me around and learned a lot.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for
no problem.